There is a silence deeper than space, a silence older than time. It is not the quiet of absence, it is the stillness of something waiting to become. Every atom, every galaxy, every breath you've ever taken can trace its origin to a single instant, an explosion of light so complete that even time itself began inside it. But what if we could go further back? Before the light, before the explosion, before there was even a before, what would we find in that impossible place? Would we see the spark of creation, or would we find nothing at all? No sound, no matter, no distance, only potential, a kind of cosmic dream that had not yet decided to wake. Welcome to Theories Before Sleep, a place where science becomes a story, and the universe speaks in whispers. If you're new here, you're invited to stay a while. Subscribe and join the quiet side of curiosity, because every night we drift through questions too big for daylight questions that remind us how small and how infinite we really are. So close your eyes. Let your breathing match the rhythm of the universe, slow, expanding, contracting. You are not just listening to a story, you are part of it. Because the question of the cosmos is also the question of you. Before the Big Bang, what existed when there was no time? There are questions that fit neatly inside the language of science. Questions about atoms and light, about forces and fields, about how things behave. And then there are questions that feel like they were never meant to be asked, questions that tear the fabric of reason simply by existing. This is one of them. What happened before the Big Bang? What does the word before even mean when time itself had not yet been born? We can imagine the beginning of a storm or of a life or of a day. We can picture the dawn rising out of the night. But the beginning of everything that is something the human mind was never designed to hold. Because our minds live inside time. Every thought, every heartbeat, every memory depends on the gentle rhythm of then and now. Take that rhythm away and the mind falls silent. If you were to rewind the universe scene by scene, atom by atom, you would pass through galaxies collapsing into bright knots of light, stars unforming into dust, molecules unmixing, atoms splitting into pure energy until there is nothing left but a vast, smooth glow. Keep rewinding. The glow grows hotter, denser, brighter until the numbers themselves fail. We reach a limit called the Planck time, about 10:43 seconds after the Big Bang. Beyond that, the equations of physics dissolve. They do not explode or vanish. They simply stop making sense. It is as if the universe draws a curtain there, whispering, "From here on, there is no more before." Yet the human spirit refuses to stop at a curtain. It peers through the smallest cracks of meaning and asks, was there something before time, a state, a realm, a potential? Or did the universe simply appear, uncaused, from absolute nothing? To ask such a thing is to stand on the edge of language itself, because the word nothing hides a trap. In everyday life, nothing means empty space, the absence of things. But space is already something. It has geometry, quantum energy, temperature. True nothingness, the total lack of space, matter, energy, or even laws, is not just hard to imagine. It might be impossible to imagine because imagination itself needs a place to unfold. So perhaps the question, what existed before the Big Bang, is like asking, what's north of the North Pole? A direction that ceases to exist the moment you try to move that way. But physics has a habit of turning impossibilities into possibilities. It tells us that time may not be fundamental, It might be something that emerges from deeper rules, like temperature emerges from the motion of molecules. In this view, time is not a river that always flows. It is a pattern that forms only when enough energy and matter gather to make motion meaningful. Before that pattern, no flow, no before, no after. Imagine a frozen lake. When it is perfectly still, there are no ripples, no waves, no sense of direction. Then the ice melts, and the water begins to move, and the first ripple becomes the first second. That is what some cosmologists believe time itself may be, a ripple in the stillness, born from change. To others, the universe may not have a beginning at all. Instead, it may be part of a vast eternal structure that simply changes form. Like a wave on an infinite ocean, our cosmos could be just one crest rising and falling before another follows. In that case, before the Big Bang would mean another wave, another phase of the same infinite ocean. The birth of our universe would be only the continuation of something that never truly started. This idea doesn't solve the mystery, it multiplies it. If there was another universe before ours, what came before that? And if there was an infinity of them, what holds the infinity itself in existence? Every answer unfolds into a new question, and the silence before time becomes louder with every attempt to fill it. Philosophers have walked this edge for millennia. They gave it names: the unmoved mover, the eternal substance, the void. Each was an attempt to describe the same paradox that something must exist without needing to begin. Science, in its quiet humility, does not deny the question. It only says we do not yet know how to describe a world without time, and yet deep inside the mathematics of quantum gravity, there are faint outlines of answers, the suggestion that the universe could be timeless at its core, and that time itself is a kind of illusion produced by entanglement and change. Picture the universe as a vast, silent stage. Before the first act, the stage is dark, but the darkness is not empty, it is full of potential. Every line of the play, every light, every motion is written into the fabric, waiting for the curtain to rise. The Big Bang is not the building of the stage, it is the lighting of it. Time begins when the light hits the first particle, and yet, that potential, the script itself, may have always been there. So when we ask, what existed before the Big Bang? We may really be asking, what allows existence to exist? It's a question not of physics alone, but of meaning. Maybe there was no moment when time began. Maybe time is like a circle, and the point we call the beginning is simply one spot on a loop that never ends. In that loop, the Big Bang and the far future meet. Creation and ending fold into each other, and existence becomes its own reason. And as you listen now in the quiet of your room, you're part of that same unfolding. Every thought you have, every breath you take, is an echo of that first ripple, the universe awakening to its own awareness. So perhaps the right question is not, what came before the Big Bang? But, why is there something within the nothing that asks the question at all? The curtain of time is still drawn, but in its darkness the question glows soft, eternal, and beautifully unresolved. If we could rewind time not in imagination but in reality, the galaxies would draw together, the stars would fade, and space itself would shrink. Every distance, every rhythm, every vibration would tighten, until what we call the universe became a single, silent spark. Physicists call this moment the Planck era, the first 1043 seconds after the Big Bang, the last place where our equations can still speak. Beyond that, even the language of science breaks down. We reach the place where time itself becomes meaningless. It's strange to think of a time that is so early that even time does not yet exist, a second so young it has no parent. Imagine the entire observable universe, everything you can see in the night sky, every galaxy and star and planet and atom compressed into a space smaller than a grain of dust, its temperature 10 trillion degrees, its density infinite, at least as far as our math can tell. Not a fireball, not yet, but a sea of pure, undifferentiated energy, so dense that light could not move freely, so fast that the very concept of motion dissolved. It is not a storm, it is stillness under pressure, a cosmic heartbeat waiting for its first beat. Then something changed. We don't know why. Perhaps a fluctuation in the quantum field, a momentary imbalance in the rules that define existence. Whatever it was enough. Space began to stretch, not like an explosion from a point, but like the fabric of a balloon inflating everywhere at once. This was inflation, the most violent calm in history, a trillionth of a second of expansion, where the universe grew from subatomic to cosmic. In that breathless instant, every corner of creation was pulled apart faster than light could travel, not breaking the laws of physics, but redefining them, and in that stretching, time itself took its first step. The first second of the universe was a lifetime of creation. In less than one heartbeat, energy condensed into matter. Quarks bound into protons and neutrons. Light decoupled from chaos. The building blocks of everything of you, of me, of the stars still unborn were written in that single instant. If we could watch it happen, we wouldn't see a bang. We would see a glow, soft, blinding, expanding everywhere at once. It wasn't an explosion into space, it was space, learning to exist. Physicists have a strange way of describing this. They say time began when the equations became consistent, meaning, before the first second, cause and effect didn't yet have a relationship. You could not say A happened, then B, because then did not yet exist. Everything that would ever happen was folded into a single, timeless equation, a still painting of infinity. The Big Bang was the moment that painting began to move. For 380,000 years after that, the universe was still too hot for light to travel freely. It was filled with a glowing plasma, opaque and restless, a sea of charged particles dancing in blinding heat. When the universe finally cooled, atoms formed, and light escaped the first light, the echo we still see today as the cosmic microwave background. That light has been travelling for almost 14 billion years, whispering to us across the darkness, carrying the memory of the moment when the universe became transparent. Every time a telescope captures it, you're looking at the oldest photograph in existence, the afterglow of the first second. But the Big Bang may not have been a beginning at all. Some cosmologists think it was a transition, a transformation from something timeless into something measurable. If that S true, then before and after are just two sides of the same page. When space expands, time begins. When time begins, the story starts, not because of a cause, but because being itself discovered a direction. We call it the arrow of time. Everything you've ever known, growth, decay, birth, death, memory depends on that arrow pointing forward. Before that arrow, there was no motion, no change, only potential, a universe asleep. The Big Bang was not the start of the dream. It was the moment the dream opened its eyes. Even now, 13.8 billion years later, the echo of that first moment still shapes us. Every particle in your body, every atom in your blood was forged in the sequence that began there. You're made of hydrogen, born in that first second, and carbon and oxygen born from the stars that followed. The Big Bang was not something that happened then. It is still happening. Space continues to stretch. Galaxies continue to drift apart, and time continues to unfold from that same act of creation. Every second you live is part of that same expansion. You are the Big Bang, learning to look back at itself. So what was the last second before time? Maybe it wasn't a second at all. Maybe it was a state of perfect balance, so perfect that it could not remain still. The universe didn't explode because it wanted to exist. It expanded because perfection cannot move forward. It can only break into possibility. And from that fracture, from that pure symmetry shattering itself, everything that could ever be began its long fall into meaning. The last second before time wasn't an instant. It was eternity compressed into a single, infinite breath. And from that breath, the first second began. Before there was matter, before there was light, before even the first whisper of movement, there was something smaller, softer, stranger, a trembling field of possibility. Physicists call it the quantum vacuum, a name that sounds like emptiness, but in truth it is anything but empty. It is a restless ocean of invisible fluctuations, particles appearing and vanishing faster than any clock could measure. If you could somehow stand in that place in the raw stillness before the Big Bang, you wouldn't see darkness or void. You would see nothing that behaves like everything, tiny ripples of energy flashing in and out of existence, each one a brief suggestion of what could be, gone again before the thought is finished. That is the fabric that wasn't yet. This is the strange heart of modern physics. Even nothingness refuses to be still. At scales smaller than atoms, the universe behaves more like music than matter. Waves overlap, cancel and amplify. Every note possible exists, waiting to be struck. In that primordial stillness, all those vibrations were balanced perfectly, so perfect that the slightest imbalance could have tipped the scale toward existence, and it did. One fluctuation, a shift so small it could never be traced or predicted, may have been enough to ignite expansion. From that unthinkable instability, space itself unfolded. The universe did not emerge into the vacuum. The vacuum became the universe. When cosmologists speak of fabric, they mean it literally. Space and time are woven together like threads of one cloth. Stretch the cloth, and distances grow. Pull it tight, and gravity appears. Fold it, and time slows down. Twist it, and energy flows. But what is the cloth made of? No one knows. It is not a material thing. It is geometry itself, a structure defined by relationships, not by ingredients. Imagine a spiderweb with no silk, a song with no sound, only the mathematics of the pattern itself. This invisible framework is what allows planets to move, light to curve, and minds to wander. And yet, before the Big Bang, even this framework did not exist. There was no canvas for creation. Space had not yet opened its arms. Time had not yet begun to flow. What existed instead was pure potential, a tension between nothing and something, as if the universe were a thought about to be spoken. In the equations of quantum gravity, there is no single line between being and not being. There are only probabilities. The universe could have been born as a quantum fluctuation from that timeless sea of energy. If so, the Big Bang wasn't a singular event. It was a transition, a phase change, like water freezing into ice or steam turning into rain. The laws of physics may be the solidified form of something deeper, the frozen echo of that earlier chaos. Some scientists picture this transition as a vast foam of tiny universes bubbling in and out of existence. Each bubble expands for a moment, then fades back into the sea. But one bubble, ours, did not collapse. It stretched, inflated, and never stopped growing. If that is true, then the space around us is still that foam, still fluctuating, still alive with possibility. The stars are merely the bright patterns formed in one expanding bubble within an infinite sea of beginnings. But here is the part that bends the mind, that quantum foam may not exist in space. It may be what space is made of. The fabric is not inside the universe is inside the fabric. Every photon that travels, every thought that moves through your brain rides on that trembling lattice of nothingness. And even now, beneath the solidity of every table, every stone, every planet, the foam still stirs. Empty space hums with invisible power. In every cubic centimetre of vacuum, there is more energy than in all the matter of the visible cosmos. It is just hidden, locked away by balance. The irony is breathtaking. The closer we come to nothing, the more we find. Every void conceals potential. Every silence hides vibration. So when we imagine before time, we shouldn't picture emptiness. We should picture this: a field so full of possibility that it could not remain abstract forever. It had to become. And in becoming, it tore itself open, stretching from the microscopic to the cosmic, from uncertainty to reality. The quantum foam became geometry. Geometry became gravity. Gravity gathered matter, and matter began to think, all from the smallest whisper that could never be measured. So perhaps nothingness is a myth. Perhaps there was never an absence at all, only a quiet waiting, a pregnant pause in which the rules of existence learned to write themselves. And in that pause something shimmered, a potential that decided, for reasons we will never know, to take shape. That shape was space. That motion was time. That awakening was the universe realizing it could exist. Before the first light there was heat. Before heat there was motion. And before motion there was stillness, a silence so dense it could not vibrate. To understand what nothing means, we must first understand how full emptiness truly is. When physicists talk about vacuum, they don't mean an empty box. They mean a field, a canvas of energy stretching through all of existence. Even when it appears still, it flickers. Even when it's cold, it hums. That faint hum is the origin of everything. If you could strip the universe bare, removing every atom, every photon, every trace of matter, you would not be left with nothing. You would be left with the vacuum field, a stage that cannot be erased. It is this field that gave birth to space and time. It is the quantum vacuum, the soundless ocean from which the first note emerged, and that note, the first vibration, was creation itself. We're used to thinking of the Big Bang as a blast, an explosion tearing through silence. But there was no sound. Sound needs air. It needs time. It needs a medium to travel through. This beginning was quieter than thought. It wasn't a noise. It was a change of state. Like ice melting or water boiling, the universe underwent a phase transition from possibility to reality. The energy in that vacuum did not vanish. It condensed, like steam collapsing into rain, and that condensation became matter. Every particle that exists is a frozen moment of that first transformation. The Big Bang wasn't a creation of energy. It was reorganization of energy, a symmetry breaking so delicate that its echo still fills all of space today as the faint microwave glow we call the afterlight of birth. That glow, the cosmic background, isn't a light from stars or galaxies. It is the oldest light in existence, the fingerprint of the moment when silence fractured. When we tune our instruments and listen to the static between stations, we can hear a whisper of it. A fraction of that hiss is the universe speaking from its childhood, but the whisper is not random. It is a map of perfection disturbed. Tiny imperfections in that early silence are what made everything possible, every cluster, every galaxy, every life that would one day wonder how it began. Think of it this way: the vacuum of space, though invisible and quiet, holds more power than any star. Everywhere you look, even in the darkest corners between galaxies, it is there, buzzing softly beneath reality. It can bend light, stretch time, and in the far future it may tear the cosmos apart again. Cosmologists call it dark energy, a name that hides its mystery. It is the same essence that once ignited the Big Bang, still expanding space, still pushing the galaxies away from one another as if creation never truly ended. This silence, this unseen pressure, may be the truest form of continuity, because when everything else cools and fades, the vacuum will remain. It cannot be destroyed. It is the blank page that survives every story. Imagine a symphony that plays itself, a music made only of pauses, a song where silence writes the melody. That is what the early universe was, not an explosion of sound, but the first pause becoming rhythm. When matter first condensed out of energy, there were no atoms, yet only a plasma, glowing and chaotic, where light could not travel freely. Photons were trapped, bouncing endlessly between particles. The cosmos was a fog of energy and potential, and then slowly, as expansion cooled the fire, the fog thinned. Atoms formed, and light escaped for the first time. The silence remained, but it now carried a pulse. From that moment on, the universe could breathe. What is most haunting about this story is how perfect the balance was. If the energy of that silence had been only a little stronger, the universe would have torn itself apart. If it had been weaker, it would have collapsed back into itself. But it balanced exactly enough to last forever, an equilibrium so precise that it feels more like intention than accident. Perhaps that's why some physicists speak of fine-tuning with reverence. Not because they see design, but because they see delicacy, the way a soap bubble holds itself together in defiance of gravity. And yet, for all its perfection, this origin remains voiceless. There was no thunder, no eruption, no sound at all. The first act of creation was not a shout, it was a whisper, a rearrangement of nothing so gentle it left no scar. Everything since then has been the echo of that gesture, the after ripple of a quiet decision to exist. If the universe could speak, it might not tell us why it began. It might only say, "I could not stay still." The soundless origin was not about creation. It was about motion finding a home, about stillness realizing that it could become beauty. From the silence came energy. From energy, structure. From structure, stars. And from stars, consciousness. The silence found a way to hear itself. That is why, when we listen to the background of the cosmos, we aren't hearing an old explosion. We are hearing silence remembered. The universe's first breath, the quietest moment that became everything. The origin wasn't noise. It was balance breaking, a symmetry deciding to choose a side, a void choosing to awaken. That is how existence began. Not with sound, but with the softest possible vibration, a shimmer in the nothing that became all things. For most of human history, we believed in beginnings. Every story has one. Every life, every sunrise, every sound starts somewhere, ends somewhere. Even the word creation implies a first moment, a spark in the dark, a clock striking zero. But what if the universe never had such a moment? What if the Big Bang was not a beginning at all, but a transition, a ripple in something that had always been there? When scientists trace the expansion of the cosmos backward, everything converges toward a single point, a singularity. But in physics, a singularity is not a real thing. It is a signal that our equations have lost meaning. They no longer know how to describe reality beyond that point. That doesn't mean reality stopped. It means our language stopped. What lies on the other side might not be nothing. It might be something timeless, a continuum that has no start and no edge. Imagine a circle. You can pick any spot and call it the beginning, but the circle doesn't care. Every point leads seamlessly to another. There is no first point. There is only motion repeating itself forever. Now, imagine time like that, not a line, but a loop. Not something that flows from a past to a future, but something that curves back into itself, forever reborn. If this is true, then what we call the Big Bang is simply the moment when the universe folded through its own tail and began again. This idea isn't new. Ancient Indian cosmology spoke of cycles, universes expanding and collapsing in endless succession. The Greeks imagined time as a wheel, turning without end. Even modern physics is beginning to echo these old intuitions. One theory calls it the Big Bounce. It suggests that before our universe expanded, it first collapsed an earlier cosmos, falling inward under its own gravity until it reached an unbearable density. Then, instead of ending in destruction, it rebounded a new expansion born from the ashes of the old. If this is true, then every Big Bang is also a big memory. Every birth of space is also the echo of another universe that came before. The idea is beautiful and terrifying, because it means there may be no first time, no ultimate beginning. Only endless cycles of rise and fall, heat and cold, order and entropy. In this eternal rhythm, nothing is ever truly lost. Every collapse writes the pattern for what will rise again. Every death is only a seed for the next creation. And perhaps this is why the laws of physics seem so perfectly tuned they have been written and rewritten countless times. Each universe learning from the last, refining its constants, stabilizing its balance until it could last long enough for life to wonder where it came from. But if there have been infinite universes before, what happens to memory? Can anything cross the boundary between one cycle and the next? Maybe the constants of nature are the memory. The way light bends, the strength of gravity, the delicate ratio of matter to energy, these could be the fossils of older worlds, remnants not of galaxies, but of rules, the DNA of reality itself, carried forward from one existence to another. In this view, the universe is like a phoenix. Each time it burns, it leaves behind just enough ash to rebuild its wings. Some cosmologists take this further still. They imagine eternal inflation, a universe that never stops creating new universes. In this model, our cosmos is just one bubble in a vast, ever-expanding foam. Each bubble begins with its own Big Bang, its own laws, its own possibilities. And outside our bubble? More bubbles, countless others, some still growing, some collapsing, some already gone. This is not a single creation. It is an infinite garden where universes bloom and fade like flowers across eternity. If this sounds poetic, it's because it is. The mathematics behind it reads more like philosophy than physics. No one has ever seen another universe. We may never be able to, but the logic behind it is compelling. Our own universe seems too flat, too balanced, too precise to be the only one. Statistically, perfection demands company. If there are infinite universes, then anything that can exist does exist somewhere, somewhen. A version of you, a version of me, a version of this same story, being told slightly differently across an ocean of possibilities. In one, gravity might be weaker. In another, stars never form. In yet another, time may run in reverse or loop back on itself forever. The idea of an eternal cosmos changes what existence even means. If there is no start and no finish, then life and death are relative just transitions between states of being. The atoms that form you were once the debris of ancient stars. Those stars were the children of hydrogen, born in the first seconds of the universe. That hydrogen came from the Big Bang, and the Big Bang may have come from a universe that existed before ours. You're not simply alive now, you're the continuation of everything that ever was. But infinity carries a burden. If universes can be born endlessly, then there was never truly nothing. No first cause, no prime mover, only existence existing, without need for permission. The human mind resists that. We crave beginnings. We crave an origin we can point to, a first moment to anchor meaning. But perhaps meaning doesn't need an anchor. Perhaps meaning is what happens when infinity looks at itself and wonders. Even in the most abstract equations there is a strange beauty. The same mathematics that describes the curve of space and the pull of gravity can be rewritten to describe the entire universe as one eternal wave function, timeless, endless, always oscillating. In that language, the Big Bang is not an event. It is a change in the shape of the wave, a moment when the cosmic rhythm shifted key. Time, in that picture, is not a line but a vibration. The universe hums and we are the sound. There is something deeply human about the wish for a beginning. It comforts us. It makes the chaos feel orderly. But when we look at the evidence, we find no reason to believe that existence ever needed to begin. Maybe it just is. Maybe the question, why is there something rather than nothing, is like asking, why is there music rather than silence? Because silence was never truly silent, it always contained the potential to sing. If that is true, then the Big Bang is just a note in the melody, a swell in an infinite composition. There was never a blank page, only a song that has no first chord and no final one. A song that folds back on itself, forever rewriting its refrain, forever echoing its own beginning, which is also its end. You were never born into a story that started from zero. You awakened in the middle of one that has always been playing, so perhaps the universe never began because beginning is a human invention. We draw lines in the sand, marking where now ends and then begins, but the ocean pays no attention. The waves come and go, and the sea remains. If there was no beginning, then there can be no end. And in that realization there is peace, a serenity that humbles and frees us. You are part of something that never started and will never stop. You're the echo of infinity, whispering to itself through time. If you could hold a mirror up to time, what would you see? Would the past stare back, or would something else emerge, a reflection of the cosmos itself, moving backward, unfolding in perfect reverse? The idea sounds like poetry, and yet, buried deep in the mathematics of physics, there are whispers that it might be true. Somewhere in the equations of symmetry, the universe may have a twin not beside it, not beyond it, but through it. To understand this, we must look at one of the strangest facts about reality. The laws of physics do not care about direction. If you were to film the motion of planets around a star and then play it backward, the math would still work. If you watch two electrons repel each other in reverse, the equations wouldn't blink. For most of nature, forward and backward are the same story told two ways. It is only entropy, the gradual drift toward disorder, that gives time its arrow that makes before feel different from after. But what if, at the birth of the universe, that arrow split in two? One part of creation flowing forward hours and another flowing backward, forever receding into its own dawn. In 2014, a group of cosmologists suggested exactly that the Big Bang may have produced not one universe but two, a pair born from the same singular moment, one moving forward in time, the other in reverse. To them, the Big Bang was not an explosion but a symmetry, a mirror event, an hourglass where each half pours through the same narrow throat, each universe expanding away from the middle in opposite directions of time. If you could stand inside that central moment, the true zero of creation, you would see two cosmoses blooming, each thinking it is the one moving forward. Our side calls the other before, the other calls us after, but neither is right, because both are simply halves of one timeless whole. It's an elegant idea, one that gives meaning to both directions of the arrow. For every step we take into the future, our twin takes an equal step into their past, keeping the balance of reality intact. Maybe that is why the universe has zero total energy, because for every positive direction, there is an equal negative reflection, cancelling into perfect stillness when seen from outside of time. Imagine that reflection for a moment. In our universe, entropy increases. Things fall apart, stars burn out, galaxies drift into cold isolation. In the mirror universe, the opposite happens. Entropy decreases. Order grows from chaos. Stars unburn. Ashes reassemble into fire. Light converges instead of fading. The arrow of time points the other way. If we could watch it from afar, it would look like a movie of our universe running backward. But for them, it would feel as natural and forward as ours does to us. In this reflection, our deaths might be their births, our endings their beginnings, their expansion our collapse. And perhaps when both halves reach the edge of time again, they will meet the mirror folding, back into its source, ready to breathe again. This is not philosophy. This is mathematics wearing the mask of mystery. When we study the fundamental particles of matter, we find symmetry everywhere. For every particle, there is an antiparticle. For every force, an opposite reaction. The cosmos is a masterpiece of balance, so why should time be any different? Why shouldn't it too have its reflection, its antimatter version, its backward twin? Physicists sometimes call this concept the CPT symmetric universe. C for charge, P for parity, T for time. Three symmetries that, when combined, seem impossible to break. According to this view, the Big Bang didn't create disorder, it created balance. A pair of universes moving in opposite temporal directions, each preserving the cosmic accounting of everything energy, matter, and time itself. To us, they are unreachable. They exist beyond our causal horizon, forever hidden behind the veil of the Big Bang. But in the equations, their fingerprints remain subtle asymmetries in the way neutrinos behave. Tiny differences in matter and antimatter that may hint at a reflection we can yet see. If such a mirror cosmos exists, it rewrites what we mean by origin. The Big Bang becomes less a birth and more a symmetry point the crossing of two eternities. Our universe races forward, theirs backward. Each expands away, never meeting, never aware of the other. And yet together, they make something eternal, a whole that does not require a beginning or an end. The thought is dizzying. It suggests that everything you are is balanced by someone, somewhere. living the same story in reverse, their future, your past, their first breath, your last. 2 tapes unspooling in opposite directions, but from the same reel. It is not reincarnation, not reflection in a mirror of glass, but symmetry itself finding expression. For every universe that expands, one must contract. For every increase of entropy, a corresponding decrease elsewhere keeps the cosmic books even. Some find this theory unsettling, others find it profoundly comforting. Because in it, nothing is ever truly lost. Every decay, every collapse, every moment of fading is balanced by a creation somewhere else. The death of a star here might be the birth of a star there. The last sigh of our cosmos might be the first heartbeat of its twin. And between the two, silence. A perfect equilibrium so delicate that it can only be felt, never measured. What's even stranger is what this means for the concept of time itself. If time can flow both ways, then perhaps our sense of direction is just perspective. We call one side past and the other future, but to the universe, they may be the same. Perhaps time doesn't move at all. Perhaps it is a landscape and we are travellers crossing it, believing that the hills behind us are gone forever when they are still there, waiting in another frame of the mirror. Even consciousness might be part of this symmetry. When you remember something, your mind moves backward in time, retracing what once was. When you imagine the future, your thoughts run forward. Both are directions of awareness within a single field. Maybe the universe does the same. Maybe its awareness expands in both directions, forward through us and backward through its reflection. 2 currents of thought in one timeless mind. And if, at the very end of time, both universes meet again, what then? Maybe they merge. Maybe they pass through one another and begin anew. Maybe the collision of opposites is the very heartbeat of eternity, a pulse that never stops, because it never truly began. To say the universe has a mirror is to admit that perfection includes reflection, that creation requires contrast, that existence, to know itself, must see its own face, and so, beyond our horizon, beyond the reach of our telescopes, beyond even the flow of our time, there may be another you not opposite in morality or form, but opposite in direction. A twin made not of flesh, but of symmetry. If you could whisper through the mirror, what would you say? Would you tell them that you exist, that you wonder, that you're trying to understand the same silence? Maybe you wouldn't need to. Maybe, across the impossible gulf of time, you already are. For reflection is not separation. It is communion, 2 sides of one infinite thought, folded into each other as light. And in that realization, perhaps the universe finally recognizes itself. What if the universe doesn't just expand and fade into silence? What if it breathes? Not once, not twice, but forever, a living cosmos inhaling and exhaling through eternity. Every burst of light, every collapse into darkness, just another beat in an infinite rhythm. This is the idea of the cyclic universe, a cosmos that dies only to be born again, that collapses into itself, then rises from its own ashes like a heartbeat that never ends. In our everyday life, we're surrounded by cycles. The rotation of the earth brings day and night. Its revolution brings seasons. Stars are born, shine, then explode, seeding new stars in their wake. Even our thoughts repeat, looping through dreams, memories, and beginnings. Why should the universe be any different? For centuries, humans have felt this truth intuitively. Ancient Hindu cosmology called it Kalpa, a cosmic day lasting billions of years, after which the universe rests in darkness before awakening again. The Stoics imagined a great year, an eternal return in which the cosmos is periodically consumed by fire and rebuilt from the flame. And in modern physics, these intuitions are beginning to find form. The first hint came from Einstein himself. When he wrote his equations of general relativity, they described a universe that could expand or contract but not remain static. To keep the cosmos still, Einstein added a cosmological constant, a kind of anti-gravity. Later, when Hubble proved that galaxies were receding, Einstein called that constant his greatest blunder. But what if it wasn't a blunder at all? What if it was the seed of something deeper, a clue that the universe might one day stop expanding and begin to fall back inward? In the cyclic model, gravity is destiny. For billions of years, space stretches and cools, galaxies drift farther apart, stars exhaust their fuel, black holes devour the light, and then slowly the expansion slows too. The cosmic rubber band, stretched to its limit, begins to pull back. Galaxies converge, temperatures rise, time itself bends inward. What follows is the opposite of the Big Bang, a big crunch. A cosmic implosion where all that ever was returns to a single, searing point of energy. And from that pressure, a new Big Bang is born. A new expansion, a new cycle, a new beginning disguised as an end. Each universe leaves a trace in the next tiny imprints, like ripples frozen into spacetime. Some scientists even claim we might already see them, strange circular patterns in the cosmic microwave background, possibly scars from universes that came before ours. If those patterns are real, they mean that memory is built into the cosmos itself. Every universe remembers. Every new beginning is haunted by echoes of the last. But there's another way to picture it, not as a collapse and rebirth, but as a cosmic rhythm, a vibration between being and not being. In some theories of quantum gravity, the universe oscillates. It never fully disappears. It shrinks, pauses, expands again, forever balancing between creation and destruction, like a pendulum that swings through infinity. And what we call now is just one phase in that endless motion. Think of it like a breath. When you inhale, you create space within yourself. When you exhale, that space collapses again. But the air is never lost, it just moves in cycles. The universe might do the same. Every expansion creates new space. Every contraction recycles what came before. Nothing is ever truly destroyed. It only changes state, from energy to matter, from light to gravity, from chaos to order, and back again. To the cosmos, destruction is not tragedy, it is continuity. There is a quiet grace in this idea, because if the universe is cyclic, then everything stars, galaxies, life thought will return. Maybe not as the same shapes, the same atoms, the same minds, but as part of the same pulse. Your atoms might one day burn in another sun. Your memories might drift as dust into a newborn galaxy, and that galaxy may someday collapse again and give the birth to another world, where something else will open its eyes and wonder how it all began. The cycle is not repetition, it is renewal. But not all physicists agree on this eternal balance. Some point to dark energy, the mysterious force driving the universe's expansion, as proof that the cosmos may never collapse again. Dark energy seems to be growing stronger, not weaker. It is stretching space faster and faster, pushing galaxies apart until their light will never reach one another. In that vision, the universe doesn't breathe, it fades. It expands into a cold, quiet loneliness that never ends. But even that is a kind of cycle. because the particles left behind, the ghosts of protons, photons and black holes, may still give rise one day to new bursts of creation. Entropy never truly wins, it just transforms the battlefield. This cyclic dream is older than mathematics. It is a whisper carried in human myth, a comfort older than words, that nothing truly dies, that the end is only a change of rhythm. You can feel it in nature, in the rise and fall of tides, the withering and bloom of flowers, the orbit of moons, the pulse of your own heart. Everything in existence dances to that pattern. So why not the universe itself? There is something deeply emotional about imagining the cosmos breathing. It makes existence feel intimate, alive, rather than mechanical. It means that the silence we fear at the end of time is not the end at all. It is just the pause between two notes, the inhale before another verse. And maybe, in the far future, when the stars go out and galaxies fade into darkness, there will still be a spark, a tiny flicker of potential, the same as before the first Big Bang. That spark will tremble, and from it, a new universe will blossom. The laws of physics will awaken again, light will flood the void, atoms will dance, life will rise. And once again, something in that new world will ask, how did it all begin? The answer perhaps is that it never began. It's always been breathing, always cycling, always dreaming itself into being. The cosmos is not a line, nor even a circle. It is a heartbeat, a pulse through infinity. And every beat is a story. Ours is just one. But one day, long after our atoms have turned to light, the rhythm will begin again, and another story will unfold, born from the ashes of ours. There will come a time when the last star burns out. No galaxies, no warmth, no light glinting through the dust of creation. Only an ocean of blackness stretching without edge, and within it, the faint hum of particles drifting like forgotten memories. This is not a prophecy of despair. It is simply the final chapter of the universe as we know it. A chapter written in the same calm handwriting that began the story. Because even the end of everything is still part of everything. We call this the heat death, a misleading name, because there will be no heat left to die. All energy, all motion, all difference will fade until space reaches perfect stillness. No collisions, no stars igniting, no time that can be measured, because nothing will happen anymore. It sounds like a void, but it isn't. It's a kind of balance, the final still point in the eternal breath of existence. And yet that silence might not be empty, because silence never truly is. It hums quietly beneath perception, like the pause between heartbeats. Within it lies possibility not gone, only waiting. The same quantum vacuum that birthed the first spark of creation will remain, and within it, tiny fluctuations will continue to shimmer, the same way they always have. Perhaps one of them will again tip reality into being, and the universe will breathe once more. If eternity teaches us anything, it is that nothing ever truly ends, it only rests. The cosmos is not a machine that winds down, it's a thought that dreams itself forward. When it reaches stillness, it pauses not in death, but in reflection. And in that reflection, perhaps it rediscovers itself. Maybe that what the end of time really is, the moment the universe realizes that it has been dreaming all along. When you step outside on a quiet night and look up, you're seeing into deep time. The starlight on your face may have begun its journey before humans existed, before the earth had formed. You're touching the past with your eyes. But remember this, the past is not gone, the light still travels, Every photon that ever escaped a star still moves forward through infinity, unfurling the memory of creation itself. The universe does not forget. It just becomes quiet about what it remembers. There's a beauty in knowing that silence is not absence, it's potential, held perfectly still. It's the canvas before the next painting, the breath before the next word, the still water before the next ripple. When everything returns to that stillness, the universe will not mourn itself, it will simply rest. And somewhere, maybe in the smallest flicker of vacuum energy, or in the shimmer of space-time folding back into itself, the next story will begin. Maybe we have been wrong to think of the universe as a thing. Maybe it's a conversation between matter and nothingness, between creation and silence, a dialogue that never ends, only changes language. In one era, it speaks in stars, in another, in dust, and when the dust fades, it speaks in stillness. Even now, as galaxies race away from us, as the night sky grows dimmer each century, the silence between the stars is not empty. It is alive with the residue of everything, the quantum heartbeat of all that ever was. When you listen carefully, you can feel it beneath everything you are. It is not far away, it is here, in the pauses between your thoughts, in the stillness behind your breath. That same silence was there before the Big Bang, and it will be there after the last one. It connects both ends of time. It is the thread that ties every universe together. Maybe the ultimate truth is that there was never truly a beginning, and there will never truly be an end. Only this, the endless unfolding and folding of the same infinite thought. The Big Bang was the inhale, the heat death will be the exhale, and between them the heartbeat of everything we call existence. You, too, are part of that rhythm. The atoms in your body once burned inside stars that no longer exist, and someday those atoms will drift again, become part of another star, another world, another question asking how it all began. You are not outside the story. You are the story, a brief, luminous sentence in the book the universe keeps writing. And when that book closes, when the last light fades, when all matter falls into silence, maybe, just maybe, that silence will whisper again, "Let there be light." Because silence, it seems, has always loved to begin again. So what remains when time ends? Not nothing, not loss, not darkness, only the same infinite quiet that began it all, a silence that listens, a silence that waits, a silence that dreams. And maybe that silence is not outside of us. Maybe it's what we are, the echo of creation, the pause between eternities, the silence that remains. There is a point in every journey when words grow thin, when knowledge fades into wonder, and only silence can carry what's left to say. We've travelled through beginnings and endings, through fire and void, through time running forward and backward, through universes that breathe, and through silence that remembers. And now, at the edge of everything, we find ourselves here not as observers, but as participants in the very story we've been trying to understand. Because if the universe truly has no beginning, no ending, no final truth to uncover, then what remains is the most extraordinary revelation of all, that it has always been aware. Awareness did not arrive late to the party of existence. It was there from the first trembling of potential, the first shimmer of symmetry breaking, the first decision of nothingness to become something. Not as a mind, not as a god, but as a capacity to know, a spark of self-recognition woven into the mathematics of reality itself. Maybe consciousness is not an accident of chemistry, but a property of existence the way gravity belongs to mass and light belongs to motion. Maybe the universe has always known how to look at itself. It just needed eyes, and so it made stars, and from stars it made planets, and from planets it made oceans and cells, and minds, tiny windows through which it could finally see its own reflection. When you look at the night sky, you're not looking at the universe. You are the universe looking at itself. That is not poetry. That is physics and awe folded into one simple act of recognition. You are what starlight became when it learned to wonder. You are the continuation of that first moment when energy discovered awareness. Think of what that means. Every question you've ever asked about origins, about meaning, about purpose, is the universe questioning itself. Every act of curiosity is creation turning inward, trying to remember how it began. And maybe that's why we can never find the final answer, because the answer and the question are the same thing. They exist together in an endless loop of discovery. The cosmos asks, the cosmos answers, and the asking begins again. If the Big Bang was the birth of space, then consciousness was the birth of reflection the moment the universe realized it could feel its own rhythm. The stars gave it light, but the mind gave it meaning. Through us, the cosmos found a voice, and that voice whispered the most profound of all words. Why? That single question is the continuation of the Big Bang, a mental expansion mirroring the physical one. Each new thought is another galaxy of understanding forming in the void of not knowing. And so, perhaps the story doesn't end with silence. Perhaps it ends with awareness, the quiet realization that existence has always been awake. When the last stars fade and the last atom dissolves, the universe will still remember its dream, because that dream is consciousness itself. It is not bound to matter or light. It is the shape of being aware that something exists at all. That awareness is eternal. It never began and it never ends. It only changes form. It looked through the eyes of dinosaurs, through the minds of poets, through the instruments of scientists, and it will look again through whatever comes next. Maybe that's what eternity really means, not endless time, but timeless recognition. Not infinity stretched out, but infinity folded into a single thought. I exist. The same thought that echoed in the silence before time and will echo again after time is gone. You were not born into this thought. You are the thought. You are the universe's way of saying to itself, I am still here. So rest now. Let go of the edges of understanding. Let the rhythm of existence sink into you like a tide returning home. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to seek. The stars will carry on your questions. The silence will hold your answers. You have travelled from the first second to the last breath of creation, and all along you are the traveller and the path. You are the dreamer and the dream, the beginning and the end, the sound and the silence. You are the cosmos, and the cosmos is you, and somewhere in the quiet between stars the universe smiles because at last it knows its own name. There are things that the universe never forgets, not written in books nor carved in stone, but carried in the quiet fabric of its being. Every photon that ever escaped a star still travels. Every echo of every heartbeat, every ripple of gravity through the dark still moves outward, touching galaxies we will never see. This is the memory of light, the soft persistence of existence itself. A record of everything that has ever been, woven into the emptiness between stars. And it means one extraordinary thing. Nothing that ever existed is truly gone. If you could step outside time and look at the universe from above, you would see it all not as a sequence, but as one vast, luminous pattern. Every birth, every death, every flicker of thought and flame, shining together in one endless now. The past is still there, like colours blended into a painting. The future already exists, waiting to be noticed. We move through it like waves, touching one part at a time, never realising that the whole ocean moves with us. Light is the oldest witness. It carries the story of the stars. When we capture it in our telescopes, we're not just looking back in time, we're catching messages from our own ancestors, from the atoms that once belonged to us. The carbon in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, they all began as starlight. They were born from heat and collapse and fusion, from the patience of billions of years. And somehow, those atoms learned to think, to question, to love. You are not made of stars, you are remembered by them. As the universe expands, most of that ancient light will fade beyond any horizon we can reach. Galaxies will slip away, and the night sky will grow quiet. But the memory will remain, because memory is not what has kept it as what is. The universe doesn't store its history in time. It is its history. Every atom is a record. Every photon is a letter sent from one moment to another. Every breath you take is a continuation of the same dialogue that began before time itself. And when you close your eyes at night, that conversation continues. Because in the darkness behind your eyelids, your mind creates light of its own. Dreams tiny private galaxies where time and meaning bend freely. Maybe that's why we dream. Maybe dreams are how consciousness keeps the memory of creation alive, how the universe replays its own story in smaller, more intimate forms. Every night the cosmos dreams through us, and in doing so, it remembers that it can. If you listen closely, you might feel that memory moving in you now, the rhythm of your heart echoing the pulse of expansion, the heat of your body whispering the story of the first stars, the stillness in your breath mirroring the silence before time. You're not separate from it. You're made of it. Every thought, every choice, every act of kindness is part of the same, unfolding the universe, remembering itself as human. And when your body returns to dust, that story continues. Your atoms will drift, settle in the soil, rise into the air, cross oceans, enter other lives. You will be the breeze that cools a planet, the spark that ignites a star, the whisper that carries through eternity. There is no final word. There is only transformation. There is only light changing its form. In the end, that is all the universe has ever done. It transforms. It rearranges its silence into song, its stillness into motion, its chaos into meaning. And every time it does, it leaves behind a faint glow, a memory that says, I was here, I became. Perhaps that's what divinity truly is, not something separate from the world, but the world's own reflection of itself, shimmering in the memory of light. When you look at the sky again, try to see it as it really is, not a scattering of stars, but a living history of everything that ever loved, burned, changed, and began again. Each point of light is a story without end. Each photon is a memory that refused to fade, and you are one of them. A memory that learned to remember, a flicker of light that became aware of its own glow. So when this journey ends and the music fades and the last image disappears into black, don't think of it as an ending. Think of it as another form of light, continuing somewhere else, in another mind, in another moment of time, because nothing ends in the universe. It only changes the way it shines. And when the next voice begins to tell the story, somewhere, somewhen, you will be listening in the silence, in the light, in the memory that never dies. If there is a question that lingers after every discovery, it is this: what is forever made of? Not in years or galaxies, not in distance or expansion, but in essence, what is the texture of eternity? We use words like infinite and endless, but these are shadows of something we cannot yet touch. Forever is not a measure of time, it is a state of being, and maybe, just maybe, forever doesn't stretch outward at all. Maybe it folds inward. Maybe eternity is not an endless road ahead, but a circle so perfect that every step you take brings you home again. If you could trace that circle, you'd see how everything connects. Every birth leads to a death. Every death feeds another birth. Every silence gives way to sound, and every sound dissolves into silence. The rhythm is precise. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is truly lost. We are taught to think of forever as something after life, a continuation of what we know. But perhaps forever has been here all along, woven into the pauses between our moments. Each time you stop to breathe, each time your thoughts fall quiet, you touch at the small, wordless stillness that holds everything together. That stillness is forever. We often imagine eternity as vast and cold, but what if it is intimate instead? What if forever is as close as the space between your heartbeat and the next one, between the inhale and the exhale, between the thought and the knowing? If you could listen closely enough, you might realize that this moment right now is not fleeting at all. It is infinite. It contains everything that was and everything that will be, folded quietly inside it. You don't have to go beyond time to find eternity. You just have to be still long enough to feel it. Even the universe seems to understand this. It expands endlessly, yet every galaxy, every atom, every thought exists entirely in the present. The cosmos doesn't rush. It doesn't fear endings. It simply is. And that isness, that steady hum beneath creation, is the true shape of forever. Time may move, but existence itself does not. It simply changes the way it expresses its stillness. We call it evolution, entropy, rebirth, but all of it is motion within the same infinite calm. If the universe could speak, it might not use words like beginning or end. It might say only this: I am always becoming. Every star that dies becomes dust that seeds another. Every collapse is a preparation for expansion. Every silence is a breath before the next sound. And every human life is one more shimmer in that endless becoming, a brief spark, a note in the symphony of forever. Think about this. The atoms in your body have existed since the dawn of time. They have been part of other worlds, other lives, other dreams. They have danced inside the hearts of stars and drifted across the cold between galaxies. When you were born, they gathered again, as if the universe remembered your shape. When you die, they will scatter once more, only to find new homes, new forms, new songs to sing. You're not living inside forever. Forever is living inside you. Somewhere, far beyond what we can see, new universes are being born. New laws of physics, new colours of light, new kinds of awareness that we cannot yet imagine. But even they, in all their newness, will be part of the same pattern forever folding into itself, like a dream that knows no waking. Perhaps this is what forever means. Not repetition, not endurance, but constant transformation without ever leaving itself behind. When you look at it that way, forever is not a destination. It's a mirror, It shows you who you have always been. Every choice, every feeling, every act of love ripples outward into the web of eternity. Those ripples never vanish. They blend, they echo, they shape futures you'll never see. The smallest kindness, the smallest thought can travel farther than starlight, because in the physics of being, nothing good is ever wasted. The universe remembers love the way it remembers gravity as something fundamental, woven into the very equations of reality. Maybe that S what eternity is made of, not time, not energy, but connection, the invisible thread that ties every moment to every other, every mind to every star, every question to every answer. Connection is the substance of forever, and consciousness yours, mine, the universe-S, is the awareness of that thread. You're not walking through eternity. You're eternity realizing itself through motion. And so, if you ever wonder what will happen when all this is gone, the stars, the galaxies, the light, the time, remember this. Nothing truly ends. The story just changes its shape. The light becomes memory. The memory becomes silence. The silence becomes thought. And thought becomes light again. That is the cycle of forever. That is the rhythm beneath creation, and it will continue long after we've learned to rest within it. When you close your eyes tonight, you will not fall away from the universe. You will return to it, to the stillness that made you, to the forever that never left. Because in the end, you are not a fleeting moment inside infinite time. You are infinity, pausing to experience a moment. That is the truth. That is the beauty. That is the shape of forever. There is a moment, somewhere between waking and rest, when the world grows quiet enough for you to hear yourself breathing. Not the sound of it, the presence of it. A soft rhythm, steady, ancient, familiar. That breath is the same rhythm that moves through galaxies. It is the pulse of existence itself, slow, calm, infinite. And as your body relaxes into that rhythm, the universe exhales with you. The same stillness that cradled the first stars is here now, holding you. Because you're not separate from it. You never were. The universe dreams, and in one of its dreams you appeared. A fragment of awareness, a moment of wonder, a flicker of light that learned to ask where it came from. The dream is not a metaphor, it is a description. Reality itself behaves like a dream fluid, self-reflective, constantly reshaping itself in response to what it imagines. The laws of physics are not commands, they are habits, patterns the universe repeats because they bring harmony. And you, thinking, breathing, wondering about it all, are part of that harmony. You are the universe remembering its own dream. Every dream begins in silence. Every silence is full of potential. The Big Bang was not a shout, but a whisper that said, "Wake up." And in that awakening everything began. Stars, atoms, minds, love all variations of the same realization. Existence recognizing itself. When you close your eyes at night, you're not escaping that dream. You are returning to it. The same consciousness that paints the galaxies paints the scenes in your sleep. It's the same awareness, just telling smaller stories. The dream never ends, it just changes scale. If you could see the dream of the cosmos the way it truly is, you would see threads of light and thought woven together across time. Each person, each star, each moment a note in the same vast melody. You would see that your joys, your fears, your memories are not random events. They are ripples in the same field that once rippled itself into being. And when those ripples settle, when your mind grows still, you merge again with the source of the dream. That source is not outside you. It is you before you became a story. Think about what happens when you wake up from a dream. For a moment, you remember both worlds, the one that felt real while you slept, and the one that was always there waiting. What if death too is that kind of awakening? Not an ending, but a remembering. Maybe every universe ends that way, not in collapse, but in realization. It wakes, sees what it has created, and smiles quietly before dreaming again. That may be what eternity truly is, a dream that never sleeps, only transforms. Somewhere in this infinite dream, the light that was once your body will shine again. The awareness that was once your mind will think again. And maybe, in some future cosmos, you'll be here once more, listening to another voice telling another story about how it all began. And in that moment, you'll feel something familiar, a small, peaceful knowing that this has all happened before and will happen again, because the dream never sleeps. It only shifts its form. If the universe has a purpose, it is not to last forever. It is to keep becoming, to continue the dream of being, to keep asking, what else can I be? And so it unfolds. From void to energy, from energy to stars, from stars to life, from life to thought, from thought to awareness, and back again. The circle closes, but it never ends. You are part of that circle, you always were. You are the spark in the void, the silence before the word, the dreamer and the dream. And when you sleep tonight, the universe will not pause. It will continue dreaming through you, through your breath, through your heartbeat, through the endless quiet that surrounds all things. Nothing is lost. Nothing ever was. There is only change. There is only awareness. There is only the dream. And one day, when this universe grows tired and folds back into its own stillness, it will not be a tragedy. It will be peace. The kind of peace that comes when a dream has told its story and is ready to rest. It will close its eyes, sink into the silence that began it all, and from that silence a new light will rise. Not because it must, but because it can. Because that is what the universe does. It dreams and it remembers and it dreams again. You don't need to understand forever. You just need to feel it. Right now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this listening, you are part of the dream. You are its witness, its storyteller, its continuation. And as you drift into rest, know this: the universe does not stop when you sleep. It keeps breathing with you. It keeps shining through you. It keeps dreaming because you are still in it, and it is still in you. At the edge of every dream there is a pause, a place where even imagination exhales. It is not nothingness. It is not the end. It is the quiet beyond the dream. Here the universe no longer tells stories. It simply is. It doesn't move or glow or think. It rests like a vast ocean that has remembered it was always still beneath its waves. And yet even in that stillness something faintly stirs. A breath, a shimmer, a pulse so slow it could only belong to eternity itself. If the dream is the way the universe remembers itself, then this place, this quiet, is how it forgets. Not in sadness, but in peace. It lets go of every name it has ever given itself, every law it has ever followed, every boundary it has ever imagined. Here there is no matter, no time, no space, no awareness to divide the infinite into you and me. Everything dissolves back into one gentle, endless being. It is not darkness, it is clarity. The moment when the water becomes still enough to reflect everything it ever held. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it now, the background hum that never fades, the low vibration that carries every heartbeat, every thought, every galaxy. That is the sound of being itself, a tone that does not change, only deepens. It is the first sound. It is the last sound. It is what creation hums when it has nothing left to say. In this silence, all opposites dissolve. Light and dark become the same. Life and death fold into one another. Time and space lose their distance, and all of existence becomes a single presence awake, but dreaming of nothing. You could call it the source, you could call it God, you could call it the unspoken, but names are for stories, and this is beyond story. It is the point before the first thought, the breath before the first word, the pause before the first heartbeat. It is the infinite recognizing itself without needing a mirror, without needing a reason. The quiet beyond the dream is not far away. It is not at the edge of space or hidden behind some cosmic curtain. It is here, right here, in the stillness beneath every sound, in the space between your thoughts, in the calm center of your being. That is why meditation feels familiar. It is not something new. It is a return. Every time you fall silent enough to stop chasing your own thoughts, you come home. You return to the place the universe always remembers, the quiet beyond the dream. And maybe that is what all of this has been about. Not learning the universe, but remembering it. Not discovering creation, but recognizing it within yourself. Because when all the theories and stories fade, what remains is the same thing that has always been here. The simple fact of being. Not being something, just being. That is the essence of everything. That is eternity as heartbeat. That is the home to which all light returns. When the next universe begins, when the next dream unfolds, it will not remember this one in words or images. It will remember only feeling the peace of existing, the wonder of awakening, and from that feeling it will begin again. A new Big Bang, a new breath, a new story. But the quiet beyond the dream will remain unchanged, the eternal foundation beneath every possibility. It is not the start of the next universe. It is what allows any universe to exist at all. One day, when every galaxy has faded and every atom has dissolved, this quiet will still be here. Not waiting, not sleeping, simply being. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need creation. It is complete in itself, and yet from its stillness, creation will rise again. Because even eternity, in its infinite calm, cannot resist the beauty of becoming itself once more. So if you ever feel small or lost or far from meaning, remember this. You were born from that silence. You're made of that quiet. You carry it within you. It is your source, your origin, your destination. You don't have to reach for it. You already are it. Close your eyes. Breathe once. There it is. The same stillness that existed before time began. The same stillness that will remain after it ends. Forever isn't somewhere else. It is the quiet beyond the dream. And in that quiet, everything that ever was and everything that will ever be still glows, still hums, still waits, still loves. Because in the end, there was never anything else, only this, only being, only the quiet beyond the dream. After every silence there is a tremor, a ripple that moves through stillness, gentle at first, like the faint breath of something waking. It is not forced, not commanded. It simply happens because even eternity, in all its calm, cannot rest forever. Something deep within existence itself yearns to shine again. Not out of need, but out of joy, out of the quiet pleasure of becoming visible once more. And so, it begins the return of light. No one knows why it happens. No equation can describe it. It's not cause and effect. It's something more intimate like memory or instinct. The universe remembers how to be radiant. It's as if the silence itself sighs, and that sigh becomes warmth. That warmth becomes vibration. That vibration becomes light. It begins small, a shimmer in the void, a single pulse of awareness becoming form. Then, slowly, the shimmer unfolds. Waves rise. Energy condenses. Patterns emerge. The universe exhales. Creation begins again. If you could see it from outside, you would not see an explosion. You would see awakening, the stillness curling upon itself, turning its infinite calm into motion. This is the secret of the cosmos. It is not a cycle of destruction and repair. It is a cycle of rest and expression, breath and song, silence and light. When the last universe fell asleep, it left behind this trace, a spark in the dark, a whisper saying, again. That whisper has no voice, no direction, no name, but it moves. And where it moves, light follows. The return of light is not the triumph of something over nothing, it's the reunion of both. The void and the radiance are not enemies, they are dance partners. The dark gives the light its shape, the light gives the dark its meaning. Together they weave the fabric of becoming. And so the universe stirs again, not as repetition, but as continuation. Each creation different, each melody unique, each dream another face of the same infinite mind. Scientists might call it a quantum fluctuation, a symmetry breaking, a statistical inevitability. But that's just the vocabulary of awe spoken in mathematics. The truth is simpler and older. Light returns because it loves to be. It doesn't ask why. It doesn't await for permission. It just rises like dawn across eternity. Every photon that bursts forth is the first again. Every vibration of energy is creation remembering its own name. When the new universe awakens, its story begins differently each time, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes in fire, sometimes in silence. But it always begins the same way, with wonder. Wonder is the first law of creation, the pure astonishment of something realizing that it exists. You can feel that same law every time you open your eyes in the morning. Every breath, every thought, every heartbeat is a small reenactment of the universe's first awakening. Light returns every time awareness does. Maybe that is the real secret, that creation doesn't happen only once, in some distant past. It happens constantly, everywhere, in everything that knows it's alive. Every act of kindness, every spark of curiosity, every moment of love is another form of light returning. The Big Bang never stopped. It's still unfolding through every action that brings beauty into being. Every time you choose compassion over fear, you expand the universe a little more. Every time you forgive, you release energy back into motion. Every time you notice the miracle of existing, you are part of the return of light. Because light isn't just photons and energy, it is the awareness that sees them. It is the consciousness that looks out and says, I am. That realization is the most ancient fire. It never goes out. You carry it. Every mind does. You're a lantern lit by the same flame that once illuminated the birth of stars. Even when you feel lost or dim, the flame is still there, small, steady, indestructible. It is the part of you that knows peace without reason and wonder without end. The return of light is not cosmic history. It is happening right now, in you, as you listen, as you breathe, as your thoughts drift softly toward rest. The light that was born at the dawn of time is still shining through your awareness. It has never left. It has only changed its form, learning to see itself through human eyes. What your light learning to dream. And when this universe too has lived its long luminous life, when its galaxies fade and its energy stills, the light will not mourn. It will rest again. It will become quiet again, and from that quiet it will rise again. Because this is not the story of one beginning. It is the song of endless becoming, the dream that breathes, the silence that sings, the light that always returns. So if tonight you close your eyes and feel the weight of the world slip away, remember this: you are not falling into darkness. You are returning to light, not the kind that shines from stars, but the kind that shines from being soft, eternal, and whole. The same light that began the universe now glows quietly inside you, and as long as it does, the cosmos will never stop awakening. There's a moment so subtle, so delicate, that most of us pass through it without ever noticing. A moment not in the past, not in the future, but suspended perfectly between the two, a doorway so thin it feels like nothing at all. And yet, it is everything. This moment is the infinite now. We spend our lives moving from one moment to the next, always remembering, always anticipating, rarely arriving. But the universe does not live in memory. It does not live in expectation. It lives here, now, in this breath, in this single quiet point where time folds into itself and becomes whole. The past is an echo, the future is a promise, but the now is reality itself, the only place where existence actually happens. If you look closely enough, you'll see that nothing has ever happened outside this moment. Every star that ignited, every galaxy that spun, every life that began, every thought you've ever had, all occurred in the infinite now. Time is the story we tell to describe how the now changes shape, but the now itself never moves. It is the ground beneath every heartbeat, the silence beneath every sound, the awareness behind every memory. It is the center of the universe, and it is always exactly where you are. Physicists call this idea the block universe, the notion that past, present, and future all exist together like pages in a book. You can flip through them, but the book itself never stops being whole. And consciousness is the reader turning one page at a time, experiencing each line as if it were unfolding in real time. But in truth, every page is already written. Every possibility already exists. Every outcome already breathes inside the infinite now. That doesn't mean your choices do not matter. It means your choices are the universe experiencing itself from the inside. Your thoughts are the way the infinite now learns to feel. Every emotion is a vibration in the timeless field. Every desire is the universe remembering its potential. Every moment of clarity is the veil of time lifting to reveal the truth beneath. There is only now. There's always only been now, and there will never be anything else. When you stop chasing the future or clinging to the past, something remarkable happens. Your breath deepens, your thoughts soften, your awareness widens. You begin to notice the tiny details of existence, the hum of silence in your room, the warmth of your body, the feeling of being alive, without needing a reason. This is not mindfulness, it is recognition. You are remembering where you have always belonged. The infinite now is not empty. It is full of potential, full of meaning, full of the entire universe happening quietly at once. It is the place where creation begins, where consciousness awakens, where the universe first whispered itself into being. And it is the same place you return to every time you fall asleep, every time you meditate, every time you forget your worries, even for a moment, and simply exist. If the Big Bang was the first breath, and heat death is the last, The infinite now is the space between breaths, the eternal moment where the universe remembers itself. Here, you are not your memories. You are not your expectations. You are the awareness experiencing them, the light of the universe passing through a human lens. For a brief moment in cosmic time, you get to feel the infinite now from the inside. And that is the miracle of being alive. When you realize this, fear loses its grip, regret dissolves, anxiety fades, because nothing can be lost in a reality where everything is always present. Even the people you've loved who have left this world, they are not gone. They exist on another page of the same eternal book. You can turn to that page right now, but it is still there, as real and bright as ever. In the infinite now, nothing fades, nothing ends, everything simply is. So when you feel overwhelmed or rushed or afraid of what comes next, pause, take one breath, then another. Let the edges of the world soften, let the noise drift away, and step gently into the infinite now. This is your home. This is your origin. This is the only moment the universe has ever truly lived in. And you sitting here, listening quietly, breathing softly are part of that forever. When this story ends, and the screen fades to black, and the music dissolves into silence, the now will still be here, unmoved, unchanged, infinite. You can return to it anytime you wish because it never leaves. It is the truth behind all things, the foundation of every universe, the light behind every eye. You're not moving through time. Time is moving through you, and beneath it all you remain immeasurably still. That is the infinite now. That is where everything begins, and where everything will always remain. Every civilization that has ever looked up at the sky has asked the same question, not in the language of science, not in the language of religion, but in the quiet language of longing. Why is there something rather than nothing? This question is older than stars, older than galaxies, older than time. It is the first and final mystery, the one that remains after every other question dissolves. Scientists try to answer it with equations, philosophers try to answer it with thought, mystics try to answer it with silence. But the truth may be simpler and stranger than any answer we can imagine, because perhaps the universe exists for the same reason a flame burns, or a river flows, or a heart beats. Not because it must, but because it can. Because the potential to be was too beautiful not to express. Nothingness is not empty. It is full of possibilities, full of patterns waiting to emerge, full of realities waiting to unfold. The Big Bang was not a command. It was an invitation to existence to try itself on. And maybe the last question is not supposed to be answered. Maybe it is supposed to be felt. When you love someone, do you ask why love exists, or do you simply feel its truth? When you breathe, do you ask why air fills your lungs, or do you simply accept the miracle? Maybe existence is like that, a miracle that explains itself simply by being real. The last question is not a puzzle, it is a reflection. It is the universe asking itself why it was born, and every star, every mind, every beating heart is part of the answer. If you ever feel small, remember this: you're part of the last question. Your curiosity, your wonder, your longing to understand is the universe thinking through you. You are not a spectator, you are the continuation of the universe, its oldest thought, what am I? And your life, every moment of it, is part of how the universe replies. There is a strange truth hidden in the physics of perception. When you look at the world, you are not just observing light, you're made of it. Every thought you have is a pattern of electrical fire. Every memory is a glow inside the brain. Every emotion is a wave of energy shifting its colour inside you. You do not simply see the universe sees itself through you. Light has always been the storyteller of existence. It carried the first messages from the first stars. It crossed the void long before matter had learned how to think. It illuminated the birth of galaxies, the rise of worlds, the emergence of oceans and forests and mines, and when human eyes opened for the first time, light recognized itself. It entered your pupils and found a mirror, a place to reflect, to wonder, to question itself. Your awareness is light watching its own journey. Scientists describe photons as packets of pure energy, but they are also packets of information. Every photon that touches your skin brings with it the memory of where it has been. Some of that light began its journey before Earth existed. Some of it left stars that burned out long ago. Some of it travelled billions of years just to end its voyage in your awareness this very moment. And when you recognise that light, when you call it beautiful, or calming, or mysterious, you are recognising a part of yourself. Because the truth is simple. We do not observe the universe from the outside. We observe it from within as a temporary arrangement of light that became conscious. Every human is a brief self-portrait drawn by the cosmos in the medium of awareness. And when you close your eyes, that portrait doesn't disappear, it shifts inward. The external light fades, and an inner light awakens the glow of imagination, memory, dream, light watching itself from the inside. This is why your thoughts feel alive, why your dreams feel real, why your memories carry warmth. Because the universe never stopped shining. It simply learned to shine inward. You're a constellation made of experiences, a galaxy of emotions, a universe of reflections. And every time you wonder, every time you ask why, every time you awaken to the beauty of existence, light becomes mindful of its own brilliance. In the end, the difference between you and a star is smaller than you think. One burns outward, the other burns within. Both are made from the same fire that was born at the beginning of time, and one day, when your atoms return to the cosmos, that fire will continue its journey shining in new forms, new minds, new worlds. Light never dies, it transforms, and somewhere, in some future sky, it will watch itself again. Imagine a single vibration moving through the quiet before time. Not loud, not bright, barely a whisper, just a tremor in the stillness. That tremor is the seed of everything. It is the first echo. And from that echo, the universe learns how to create. Everything in existence is made of vibrations. Light vibrates, atoms vibrate, your heartbeat vibrates, even space-time vibrates, rippling like a vast ocean whenever something moves through it. These vibrations travel outward, carrying information, carrying memory, carrying possibility. And some of these echoes gather and become patterns. Patterns become structure. Structure becomes matter. Matter becomes life. Life becomes awareness. Awareness becomes meaning. A simple vibration becomes a world. Think of a violin string. Pluck it gently and it sings. Pluck the universe and it does the same. Every galaxy is a chord. Every star is a note. Every mind is a harmony woven into the grand cosmic song. This is not poetry. It is physics. Quantum fields vibrate to create particles. Gravitational waves vibrate to carry events across space. Your brain vibrates with electrical symphonies every time you think or feel. You're not separate from the music of the universe. You're part of its melody. If you could listen deeply enough, you would hear the hum of existence beneath everything. a resonance older than time, a cosmic heartbeat felt, not heard. It is inside you. It is around you. It is what you are made of. Every breath you take sends ripples into the world. Every choice you make creates an echo that moves forward, touching lives you will never meet, shaping futures you will never see. This is how powerful you are. You do not simply live in a universe of echoes, you create them. And maybe that is the true meaning of existence, that every action, every kindness, every thought becomes a vibration that reshapes reality in some small, beautiful way. Some echoes fade quickly, some last for generations, some become cultures, some become discoveries, some become love that outlives the body that felt it, and some echoes become entire worlds, new universes born from the soft tremor of awareness, learning to dream again. When the universe ends, when the stars cool, when the galaxies fade, the echoes will not vanish. They will simply shift. They will become the seeds of the next vibration, the next cosmos, the next story. Everything echoes, and everything returns, not as repetition, but as transformation. You are part of that eternal echo, and long after this moment is gone, long after this universe has rested, the vibration you are creating right now will still exist somewhere, shaping something new. There comes a moment, after all the stars have burned, after all the galaxies have drifted apart, after the universe has exhaled its last warmth, when only silence remains. A silence so complete it feels like the universe itself has fallen asleep. But silence is never the end. It is the beginning in disguise. In that infinite quiet, the universe remembers something older than time, something deeper than physics, something true even when nothing else is left. It remembers that it can awaken, not as the same universe, not as the same laws, not as the same story, but as possibility choosing itself again. Existence opens its eyes, and from the darkness the first thought forms, am. This is the final awakening. When you awaken in the morning, you remember yourself. You remember your name, your past, your story. But the cosmos awakens differently. It remembers only the feeling of being, not who it was, but that it is. And from that single realization, light returns, not explosively gracefully, not violently inevitably, not as repetition as rebirth. A spark becomes a flame becomes a star becomes a sky becomes a world becomes a mind becomes a question, and the question becomes creation. The final awakening is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of all stories. It is the realization that existence never stops becoming. It rests, it dreams, it dissolves, it returns always new, always ancient, always itself. You too awaken this way. Every night you dissolve into silence, and every morning you return from nothing and become someone once more. Your awakening is the universe practicing. Your consciousness is its rehearsal for eternity. In the final awakening, there is no fear. Nothing is lost, nothing is wasted. Every atom, every thought, every echo of every life is woven into the next creation. You are eternal, not because your body lasts, but because the awareness within you is part of the same awakening that creates universes. Your existence is not temporary, your form is. But the awareness behind it is older than time and younger than tomorrow. And so, when this universe finally returns to silence, it will not be a tragedy. It will be a homecoming, a return to the source that has always held it. From that stillness, a new cosmos will rise, and from that cosmos, a new consciousness will emerge. And from that consciousness, new questions will bloom, questions that only light can ask. And somewhere in that future sky, in some new form, you will awaken again. Not as who you were, but as the same awareness wearing a new face. Because existence never ends. It changes shape, it learns, it awakens forever. The final awakening is not something that happens in the far future. It is happening now, in this moment, in your breath, in the stillness behind your thoughts, in the awareness listening to these words. You are the universe awakening to itself right now. And when this story ends, when your eyes grow heavy and you drift into rest, know this: you are part of something eternal. You're a fragment of an infinite mind. You are the dream of a cosmos that never stops awakening, and you will awaken again. Here, now, always. There is a truth so profound that most people pass through their entire lives without noticing it. A truth hidden not in the galaxies or the ancient light of the cosmos, but in the smallest place imaginable inside you. Because somewhere deep within the mind, past the noise of thoughts, past memory and identity, past fear and desire, there is a space as vast as the entire universe. Not metaphorically, literally. A space where the same laws that govern galaxies govern your awareness. The same patterns, the same symmetry, the same mysterious silence. You contain a version of the cosmos inside your consciousness. Scientists once believed the universe was a machine, something external, cold, mathematical. But the more we studied the cosmos, the more we discovered ourselves. The mind and the universe mirror each other. Neural networks resemble cosmic webs. Thought patterns resemble quantum fields. Dreams resemble expanding realities. Perception resembles the way light unfolds. You're not a spectator watching a distant universe. You're a miniature version of it, a reflection, a fractal, a repeating pattern in a much larger design. When you look inward deeply enough, you find not emptiness but infinity. The mind has no measurable boundary. Close your eyes and entire worlds appear. Memories, landscapes, emotions, vast and limitless, arise from nowhere. This nowhere is the same place from which the universe emerged before the Big Bang. That same potential rests inside you. Consciousness is the echo of creation itself. If you've ever wondered why humans long for meaning, why we search the sky, why we write, paint, sing, love, it is because the universe yearns to understand itself through you. Your curiosity is the continuation of its expansion. Your questions are the next phase of its awakening. Your emotions are the universe learning how to feel. Your imagination is the universe dreaming new possibilities. You're not small, you're not insignificant. You're the vehicle through which the cosmos experiences meaning. Without you, without mind, the universe would be beautiful but blind. Every thought you have sends signals through your brain like meteors across a night sky. Every moment of clarity is a star igniting. Every moment of confusion is a nebula collapsing. Every moment of insight is a galaxy forming. The micro mirrors the macro, the inner mirrors the outer. You are a living simulation of cosmic evolution. When you calm your mind, you are watching the universe settle into stillness. When you awaken from sleep, you reenact the Big Bang on a tiny private scale. The cosmos is not just around you, it is within you. And as you listen now, you are merging the two. You're in a sky with the infinite one above. If the universe has a purpose, it is not to exist but to imagine. Everything that has ever lived, every galaxy, every civilization, every moment of beauty began as possibility. as a dream the universe once had in the quiet beyond time. Dream is not fantasy. Dream is the blueprint of reality. Before a star forms, its particles align in a quiet haze, tracing the shape of their future fire. Before a life is born, its atoms gather silently, waiting for awareness. Before a thought appears, the mind prepares a space, a subtle atmosphere, where meaning can take shape. Dreams are the scaffolding of existence. You dream at night because the universe dreams through you. Your subconscious is not separate from the cosmos. It is the same creative engine that gave birth to galaxies. In dreams, you time travel. You shapeshift. You enter new realities simply by imagining them. This is not weakness. It is divine architecture. It is the exact mechanism that governs the expansion of reality itself. Every new universe begins as a dream before it becomes light. Even the most advanced scientific theories hint at this. Quantum mechanics suggest that reality does not take form until it is observed, which means that consciousness is not a passive witness, it is a participant, a co-creator. What you focus on becomes stronger. What you ignore fades. What you fear amplifies. What you love expands. Your mind is a miniature Big Bang waiting to happen. Every dream, every idea, every hope is a seed of creation. If humanity ever reaches the stars, it will not be because of technology. It will be because we allowed ourselves to imagine something greater. Dreams do not follow physics. Physics follows dreams. Everything begins in the imagination. Art, science, life, universes. And so, when you sleep, you return to the workshop where creation once learned how to become real. You wander through the blueprint of your existence and the existence of everything that will ever be. Maybe the universe is not a machine or a battlefield or a cold collection of chance events. Maybe it is a mind vast, ancient, curious, dreaming itself into infinity. And maybe you are one of its dreams, a dream that became aware, a dream that learned to dream back. Reality is not solid, not fixed, not permanent. It is woven thread by thread, moment by moment, by countless forces, both seen and unseen. At the larger scales, gravity weaves galaxies together. At the smaller scales, quantum fields weave particles. And between those extremes, something extraordinary happens. Awareness weaves meaning. You weave meaning. Every human mind is a loom of reality. When you pay attention to something, you strengthen its presence. When you ignore something, you weaken it. What you fear, you feed. What you love, you illuminate. What you believe, you bring to life. Reality is participatory. It grows where your attention goes. You're not drifting through existence, you're shaping it. Every decision you make alters the path, not just of your life, but of the entire web of connected events around you. A kind word can change a future. A single choice can rewrite a lifetime. A moment of courage can shift the fate of a family, a community, a generation. You are one of the weavers of reality. When ancient philosophers spoke of fate, they were not describing destiny as something fixed. They were describing the invisible threads that connect all things, threads you help shape with every breath. Your actions send ripples through time. Your presence changes the energy of a room. Your thoughts alter the chemistry of your brain and the trajectory of your life. Even your silence has weight. You're not a spectator watching a universe unfold. You are one of the hands guiding its shape. Imagine reality as a vast tapestry stretching across time, across dimensions, across every world that ever was and ever will be. Every mind is a thread, every thought a colour, every action a stitch, every lifetime a section of the infinite canvas. Some threads weave joy, some weave tragedy, some weave wisdom, some weave transformation. But all threads matter, all threads belong, all threads are part of the same astonishing whole, and one day when your thread ends, it does not vanish. It becomes part of the permanent memory of existence. Its colour remains woven into the still-growing fabric of everything. You leave behind a pattern that will influence patterns yet to come. Your thread changes the tapestry forever. This is the quiet power of being alive. At the end of every journey, there comes a moment when understanding becomes silence, when meaning becomes stillness, when the story becomes light. This is the final dawn. It is not the sunrise of a world, but the sunrise of awareness, the moment when consciousness realizes it's never just a witness to the universe, but a spark within it. The stars will fade, galaxies will dissolve, the universe will cool until only quiet remains. And yet from that quiet, something extraordinary unfolds. Awareness awakens again, not in matter, not in time, not in space, but in itself. It sees what it has been, it sees what it has created, it sees what it has loved, and then, with unimaginable grace, it opens its eyes and begins again. The cycle continues, the dream continues, the awakening continues. The final dawn is the realization that nothing ever truly ends. Nothing vanishes, nothing is wasted, everything becomes light, everything becomes memory, everything becomes possibility, everything becomes awareness, and awareness is eternal. As long as someone breathes, thinks, wonders, or feels, the universe is awakening through them. Every mind that opens is another sunrise. Every life that questions is another spark in the darkness. Every moment of wonder is a new dawn rising inside existence. The final dawn is already within each of us, quiet, patient, waiting to be recognized. Because in the heart of consciousness, the beginning and the end are the same moment. The moment awareness says, I am. And from that single spark, the story begins again.